Oh, mic check, mic check. 1 2 1 2. Mic check. 1 2 1 2. What is good? What is good? What is good, beautiful people? Of course, you know who I be. Good Doc, Dr. Mike TV. Back again, once again. Instant classic in the making. If this is by far your first time to the Dr. Mike TV channel, please make sure you subscribe and notify and do all the good things to make yourself well versed in the good Doc's content. All of my good stuff shall be listed in the link in the description area below. Sorry, guys, I was getting my stuff together. Official time check, we're looking at about 8:38 in the p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which makes it about 7:38 Central, which makes it roughly about, 5:38 for everybody repping that West Coast. And of course, 8:38 in the p.m. I'm sorry, a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wherever you guys are important in the world today, Madami, Salama, Salahat, and thank you guys for joining the Good Doc. Give me a minute. Got to turn on my lights in the background. Hopefully, it'll give you a little bit more light in here in the living room. Give me 1 second. All right, y'all. I hope that's a little bit better. Anyways, guys, good to see you. I know it's been a minute, man. Doc's just been doing some stuff offline. That's part of it being lazy, part of it dealing with some other stuff. But again, guys, happy to be back, man. Happy to see you guys in the building. But today, man, I can't lie to you. Today is definitely an interesting topic of conversation that I think is long overdue. There was only one time ever that I feel I've ever discussed. Well, I probably done it a couple times, but in recent months, there's a video that's linked in the description area below that you guys can check out that I made probably a few months back that I'm going to be somewhat referencing in tonight's topic of conversation. But if you guys are just joining in, the question of the day is the Philippines the only Asian country that embraces foreigners? Now, I want to say it was about the same time that I put this particular video out that I came across an interesting hot take of sorts from none other than Andrew Tate. Some of you guys are familiar with him, some of you guys are not. But in that particular video, basically what he was saying was that Asian countries are likely more racist than any other country. And the reason he was making this statement is because it doesn't matter if you are, an American that speaks fluent Japanese, you'll always be an outsider. You will always be just that American guy that can speak Japanese or speak Korean or whatever. And when you think about it in hindsight, or when you really, really think about it, it does seem to hold some weight. Like I said in the video, it does seem to hold some validity. But when I think about it, and I think about my personal experiences with my time in the Philippines and probably in other places that I've been before, I often wonder, is the Philippines one of very few, if not the only one country that seems to embrace foreigners? And when I say embrace, I mean, you'll have Filipinos that will say to you, "Thank you for visiting our country." They'll call you. They will call you whether you're black or white. They'll be like, "Hey, my brother." Mostly if you're black, but I've heard them say that to white guys too. But they'll be like, "Hey, my brother, thank you for coming to our country. Thank you for visiting our country." Do you think that we get that same type of embrace in a place like Korea? And I'm not talking about whether you're black, white, or indifferent. I'm talking about just as a foreigner in the general context. Do you think that we get that same type of love? And when I say that same type of love, I'm not talking about someone's personal infatuation with the fact that you might be a white guy or the fact that you might be a black guy. Like, oh, I just like black guys, or oh, I just like white guys. No, I really mean like an embrace for you being in their country. Now, when I say embrace, I'm not just talking about you just being in the country and people paying you no mind. I mean, they're open to having conversations with you. They're talking with you. They want to know about you. They genuinely want to be engaged in conversation with you. That's what I mean by openly embracing. Not just, okay, yeah, that's just another motherfucking foreigner in the Philippines, or that's just another foreigner in Japan, or another foreigner in Korea. I really want to know if there's any other country that you guys can come up with that you've personally seen or personally been to that you could say, I have felt the exact same type of embrace that I felt in the Philippines. Now, if you've never been to the Philippines, it's a little different. And, vice versa, if I've never been to a place where you're saying that you felt that exact same embrace, maybe we'll be able to just at least be able to converse about it. But I wonder if, and I'm going to get to the comments in a minute, y'all. I'm just saying, do you believe that they'll have that same type of embrace for us? And honestly, thinking out loud, and I'm just going to name some Asian countries off the top of my head, and you can tell me whether you agree or disagree with the same embrace that you'll get from the Philippines, right? You say Korea, probably not. Japan, I'm not saying that they don't accept us or they're not going to say, oh, don't come to my country, but I'm talking about that warm embrace that you'll feel that you'll get in the Philippines. Japan, probably not. Vietnam, maybe. Cambodia, maybe. Thailand, I don't think so. I understand what some people may say in the whole conversation about Thailand and versus the Philippines and stuff like that. And that type of conversation, I get it. Granted, you'll have probably a wonderful time in Thailand. Some people will, some people won't. But it just baffles me to think that there's another country in Asia, more specifically, that'll be as warm and embracing of foreigners as the Philippines. And when I say embracing, I want you to understand what I mean by this. I'm going to give you an example, and hopefully you guys will be able to pick up what I'm putting down. If you haven't already dropped a like, please make sure you do so. We have YouTubers. And you'll know who I'm talking about when I say it. You have YouTubers that have Filipino in their name, but they don't have any Filipino blood in them at all. Do you know who the fuck I'm talking about? Right? Do you know who I'm talking about? And I mean, this guy, in my personal opinion, has completely taken over the game as a result, right? And I mean, when I say embraced, I mean, they embraced this motherfucker with the realness, right? And there's only going to be a couple of people who know exactly who I'm talking about, right? But what I'm saying is, I just have not seen and or heard of the exact same embrace that I hear other people getting from, being a foreigner coming to the Philippines, as opposed to being a foreigner in Thailand, being a foreigner in Japan, being a foreigner in Korea, being a foreigner in other places. It's just not, something that you hear on a regular basis. And that's kind of where the energy is coming from, man. That's kind of where the energy is coming from today. Now, again, I understand that, there's a bunch of caveats. There's a bunch of, you could call it variables or loopholes or things to consider when you talk about this warm embrace, right? But ultimately, can you say that you felt that exact same type of embrace in any other country? Then you'll hear. I mean, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. Let me get it right. Can you say that you can see other people going to other countries and getting that exact same embrace that they feel in the Philippines that you will get, in other countries, like Thailand and Japan, right? That's where we are tonight. That's what the energy is. Appreciate you guys locking in. If you haven't already, man, y'all make sure y'all drop that like. Doc would highly appreciate that one, man. Y'all make sure y'all caress, molest, and distress yourself all over that like button. It wants it, it needs it, most definitely have to have it. If you guys want to support in any capacity, please feel free to do so. But like I said, man, I'm happy and blessed. Y'all choose to come through, spend a little bit of time with the boy today. Now you're dead. Let's go ahead and get back to business, man. So the question is the Philippines the only Asian country that embraces foreigners? My man Earl Owens, he says nope. I'm hoping that he's kind of delivered some reasons why he believes that in further conversation. Chosen One, what's up with you, man? Shout out to my brother from Tacoma, Washington. My man Pedro, what's up with you, brother? I hope Canada is treating you well. My brother Lee, what's going on? He says, not the only one, but they are more welcoming to us as foreigners. That is true. I believe that there's very few other, and we're talking specifically about Asian countries, y'all. Asian countries, right? Make sure we note that. I mean, you can talk about going to other countries, period. But the focus here is Asian countries. India is included in that as well. China is included in that as well. Can you say that you felt the exact same embrace from those countries, if you've ever been there, that you felt as a result of you coming to like a place like the Philippines, right? My man, Mr. Dawkins, great point. He says, how about unconditionally without money? Well, the crazy thing about that one is it brings up a flood of information and facts that I could spit off. I mean, nothing based on numbers or anything, but if you think about it, in hindsight, Japan is a place that doesn't need foreign money. They got money, they got bread, and God rest the soul of is he the prime minister, love? That's who he was in Japan. He prime minister. He got assassinated, y'all. I don't know if y'all heard about the prime minister in Japan. My young lady brought it to my attention days ago, and that was just genuinely fucking unfortunate. And he's been in power, I think, since the early 2000s, I believe. He's been holding it down in the country, and recently some bad things happened, and he is no longer with us. But, Japan is still a powerhouse. They don't need our money, right? I don't think Korea needs foreign money. I don't think China in any capacity needs foreign money. So when we talk about unconditionally without money as part of it being the question, that could be one of those variables that we could talk about as well in reference to that embrace that you feel. Is that warm embrace coming from the simple fact that they just like foreign money? Who am I to say? All right. Earl Owens, you said that you were also welcome in Singapore. That's what's up. I've never been there, but I do believe that anything is possible. Excuse me. Even in those particular foreign countries, like I said, everybody's gonna share in different experiences. Again, you may be a foreigner that came to the Philippines and you were like, man, I just didn't feel the vibe. Like, the Philippines ain't for me. The Philippines is not for me, and it's not my vibe. And if that's what it is what it is. You can't sit there and just feel away. Or maybe you feel as though maybe the energy that I'm probably expressing as far as the foreigner that's been to the Philippines, maybe you felt that exact same energy just somewhere else, right? My man Steve says Korea, not to go. That's a no-go. Korea and Japan are places that my man Pedro says he hasn't felt the exact same embrace that you feel in the Philippines. China, yeah, that's hit and miss for a lot of people. I know that if you're looking for a money move, China would probably be a dope space to go into. But again, what we're talking about here is the overall warm embrace that, foreigners get when you come into a country. You know what I mean if you've ever been abroad, period. When you go to a place, you know the vibe as soon as you touch down. You know the vibe as soon as you get to your hotel. You know the vibe as soon as you start, touring in the local areas, whatever it may be. You know if somebody's feeling you or not. Like, if they're cool with that you're there, if they're not cool that you're there, right? And I've had Filipinos in more than one occasion. Hey, my brother, thank you for visiting the Philippines. Why they say it, I don't know. But it did not seem that it was coming from a negative place or a negative space, right? It didn't seem as though it's just a joke to them, or again, you might have somebody that might fuck with you and joke around with you, but in hindsight, I've just never felt the energy in a negative way when it came to them being okay with foreigners or talking to us as foreigners and embracing us as foreigners coming into their country, right? I don't know if you're going to get the same type of energy from a dude that's in Japan that say, hey, my brother, thank you for coming to Japan, or somebody in Korea say, hey, my brother, thank you for coming to Korea. I just can't see that being like something that is happening. Like, you just don't hear about it as often. Not saying that it don't. You just don't hear about it as often. He said, hell, dog. He said, I'm going years back. He said, I felt comfortable in Singapore. So that's 2 for Singapore. I guess it was because it's an international country. People was very open to talking to you. I like to believe that, the openness of a country definitely plays a major role. Like, if you think about the Philippines, in my personal opinion, is one big ass melting pot. And this is coming through history. The conquering of the Spaniards, the American, I don't want to call it an invasion. That's not proper use of words, but the fact that the Americans had a hold of sorts on the country, or they were there during a particular period of time. And the fact that there were different cultures that kind of somewhat make up the Philippines as a melting pot, maybe that's why you're not going to really find, and I didn't know this until somebody told me this a while back, but I didn't know that the Japanese and the Koreans didn't get along. I should have known that, but only a couple of years back did I really find out that energy, that shit don't vibe. Of course, being in the Philippines, I realized that Filipinos and Thai people don't necessarily vibe well. I'm not just saying that in the general sense. I just kind of feel like They feel like their country, each of them respectfully feel like their country is better. So you're going to have people that aren't going to be as accepting of certain people coming into their country, right? It's very rare that you hear about people from Thailand coming to the Philippines. You've had a couple of Filipino friends, at least for me, that have been to Thailand and visited, go around for a trip and whatnot. But sometimes you don't hear about it as often as, Thailand or people from Thailand coming to, the Philippines to have a vacation and stuff like that. So I'm not saying that there's a warm embrace from all races or there's a warm embrace from all types of foreigners, but in the general sense of it all, it's very rare that you hear about negative reactions of Filipinos and how they feel about foreigners coming into their country. You're going to have a couple that ain't going to like it, but overall, I do feel as though they're really cool with the idea of certain foreigners coming into their country. All right. Let's see. We got 15 in the building. If you haven't dropped your like, Doc would highly appreciate that one. Don't leave the like button hanging. Very simple. My man Lee, you know who I'm talking about. Shout out to my man Zay. What's up with you, brother? He says, hey, Doc, I say Philippines is genuine about welcoming us for sure. You can tell they are willing to accept us for who we are and embrace us, considering the language and difference in culture itself. Truth. Like I said, going back to what I mentioned earlier about the Philippines being a melting pot, about a lot of foreigners coming in from Europe, a lot of foreigners coming in from other Asian countries, Chinese businessmen. I've seen, Indians as well coming into the Philippines and stuff like that. So being a melting pot, they probably are one of the more friendlier, not saying that they're the friendliest, but one of the more friendlier countries in welcoming and embracing foreigners into the Philippines, right? I just can't say that you're going to get that exact same vibe in Japan and Korea and Vietnam and Cambodia and all that shit. Yeah, you can say that they would rather see one foreigner over the other in certain countries, but again, that embrace may come with a caveat or an asterisk of sorts. Oh man, but you get what I'm saying though. I hope you guys are picking up what the doc's putting down. My man says it does depend because in regards to Japan, there's a channel on being black there. Apparently those featured love it there. Right. And I know exactly what you're talking about. It's the Black Experience in Japan, I think. I think that's the name of the channel. I know exactly who you're talking about. And like I said, I'm not saying as though there aren't people that have had wonderful experiences. When I lived in Japan, granted, I was younger then, I never felt a negative vibe about it. But then again, I was the American kid on the American base dealing with American people 90% of the time, 95% of the time. So the only exposure that I had going off base and doing things like that, it was limited at best. So I can't really call it. And then again, since it was a time when I was younger, I can't really recall there being any negative energy at all. But, like I'm saying, it's just certain people are going to have certain experiences. Like I said, never been to Singapore, but two of my brothers today told me that Singapore was dope. I'm not saying that Japan is a bad place or, you're not going to get love in Japan like you'll get in the Philippines. Because again, depends on the person, depends on, human nature and how you interact with people. Sometimes it takes them getting to know you in order to kind of change your dynamic of your vacation or your time spent in the country, right? You can't just sit there and expect everybody to be welcoming to you if you don't talk to nobody. I'm not telling you to go out there and be a social butterfly, but damn, if you want to know about stuff, sometimes you got to talk to people, right? So in hindsight and in reality, there are going to be other places. But to me, overall, from my personal experiences, I've found that a lot more foreigners have probably found the energy in the Philippines to probably be more their speed than they probably had in a place like Japan, etc. Again, not saying that it's not possible or that it's implicitly in other Asian countries, but just saying that the Philippines seems to be a little bit more warmer in their embrace. All right. Let's see what you guys got to say. That was his name, Shinzo Abe. I hope I'm saying that right. Yeah, it was horrible, man. It was horrible. Oh, man. He said people in Singapore talk your ear off. Like I said, you get in the right circle, man. People want to know about you. It's very rare in certain countries that people will be open to having those conversations with you again. Maybe it's because it's an international hub and there are a lot of foreigners that frequent that particular area. Maybe that's why. But, like you said, man, Singapore being a melting pot as well. That probably is a major reason why. Chosen One says nobody embraces foreigners more than Thailand. It is the mecca of tourism, and you've been there 3 times. Okay. Like I said, I don't know the vibe. It's just weird because you never really hear about it's I'm not like I said, I'll never say it don't happen. It's just weird because I never hear people talking about that warm embrace that they get. Like I feel the good vibes or whatever it is when I go to Thailand. I know why you go to Thailand and I respect the reason why you go to Thailand, but you never really hear people talking about I feel, like I get that embrace or that I'm happy to be here, and that sometimes on a very minuscule level, the people seem to be happy that I'm there as well. And there's no negative vibes to that particular extent. 13 in the building. If you haven't dropped your like, make sure you drop that like. All right. Floyd, what's going on with you, brother? He says, I'm in Manila now. Most have been friendly and some are just plain rude. Yeah, you're going to have the rude ones, man. Rude can come in many different forms. Just bluntly asking you for money. Since you're a brother like myself, I'll tell you the truth. It doesn't happen often, but sometimes you may hear somebody slide in that little N word, bruh. It doesn't happen often. Let me make sure I make that abundantly clear. But I've had situations where I've been walking and I heard somebody let it slip. I chalk it up to ignorance. I don't really try to take too much offense to it like I did when I first got there. And like I said, it's only happened. I can count them all on one hand how many times that particular situation has happened to me. But like I said, I'm not going to sit there and act like it hasn't happened. So again, you might have a 50-50 vibe with people. Some people may be cool. Some people, like you said, may just be plain effing rude. And it sucks. The rude ones kind of ruin the exact, they try to ruin the trip for you. It doesn't necessarily make too much of a problem, in my opinion. But again, it does depend on how you take it when you hear it. Because, dead ass, you'd be about ready to probably throw hands with people, some people with the energy that you get with some people, at least here in the West, somebody say something like that, that they've been properly educated, hopefully, on the rudeness of using certain racial terms and slurs. You would think so. But in the Philippines, ironically, and I've said this before in many videos, I'm not excusing it, but for some reason, I do understand it. On a base level, I do understand it. Some Filipinos learn English by rapping lyrics to songs. They happen to enjoy rap music. In rap music, they happen to use the N-word quite often. Using the term as a term of endearment to an extent, I've had some people that have said it, not necessarily in a vibe that comes off as negative, but just as what I would like to coin as a term of endearment, right? Because that's how they learn to speak English. So in some cases, like I said, you can't really pick and choose who you choose to get mad at, who you choose not to get mad at. You can if you want to, but I've just learned that if you take it serious, like to that particular instance, it's going to ruin your vacation overall. So I try not to let it infect me in such a way. And I hope that, it doesn't happen to you, but I hope that those that were plain rude to you don't put a stink on your whole vacation. Because if you let it happen, it will. 100%. If you let it happen, it will happen. Like if you let them ruin your vacation because they're being butts or whatever, as it can happen. He says speaking English helps a whole lot. He says you can video chat real easy. Oh yeah, man. I mean, 90% of the time when I've had conversations with people, 90%, maybe even 95%, people were using me to help them learn English. Quote unquote, they were helping themselves through me to learn English, right? I've had quite a few people that have just started up a conversation to just practice English. And it does make it easier for me. On the back end, it didn't help me very much because when I'm trying to learn Tagalog or Visayan and everybody wants to speak to me in English, guess what? Didn't help very much at all. But, it is what it is. But for me, like I said, I've very rarely felt negative vibes in the Philippines. And I do overall feel like the Philippines is very embracing of foreigners. But are there any other countries outside of Singapore? Because we've heard about Singapore. Are there any other countries you guys can mention where you feel like you feel the exact same embrace that you would feel if you came to the Philippines? That's what I'm looking for from you guys today. My man says, otherwise, I'm engaged to a beautiful Filipina. Congratulations. And both families are excited for our wedding next year. Congratulations, my brother. And I hope it all goes well. I don't want to call you hillbilly, but hey, appreciate you locking in. If you got a name, I will gladly call you that. Sean, what's up, man? He says, Thailand, of course, also Sri Lanka have, and they said they're beautiful people there. I think I've only talked about Sri Lanka one time in my whole entire life. And that was due to having a fellow brethren of mine on live chat that time. It was my brother Antoine Wade from Black Heights, his YouTube channel. He came on one time and he told me about Sri Lanka. He lived in Singapore for a while, and I believe that either he lived in Sri Lanka or he had visited Sri Lanka for a period of time. I don't know if he goes in depth in it on his channel at all, since his channel is a tech channel. But hopefully I will gladly have him on one more time if I can get him to come through and he can have that conversation about Sri Lanka, because you're not the first person to talk about Sri Lanka like that. You are not the first one. My man says they slide the M word in because they do not have the knowledge or the understanding of the intent on why they do it. It really rubs, of course, you a certain way, but just need to brush it off. He says some people do it because they want attention. I don't disagree. Like I said, man, there's many different ways you could take that conversation. There's many different ways you could take it. I try not to take it to the point where I allow it to affect my energy overall. Because trust me, there are things that have happened that I've allowed to affect my energy for days, and it kind of puts a bummer on a whole lot of shit, man. Can't even talk to girls the same because you just mad. You feel me? You can't do shit like you want to. Like, you can't go to the club and enjoy yourself, even though I'm not a club guy. But you can't go to the club and enjoy yourself because motherfucker done said something to fucking piss off your whole day. And it sucks when it happens first thing in the morning, because then you got to fucking deal with it the whole day. It's crazy. My man says, unfortunately, and it's your observation, but some negative treatments may have come from their bad dealings with arrogant foreigners. That's true. Some of them have had cousins that have dated some very bad foreigners, and as a result, their cousins said, oh, you shouldn't date that guy because the XYZ, look what he did to me. Look at what this particular foreigner did to me. And yes, they talk. If you don't think Filipinos talk, you in the wrong business, man, because that shit'll run down the chain, bro. If one foreigner that looks like you in any capacity has fucked over a family member in any way, shape, or form, guess who's going to be the blame? You. And you ain't had nothing to do with it. You ain't know this dude. Y'all ain't had no outings together. You don't know this dude. But because you look like this one guy that did this one thing to this one girl this one time, everybody in the damn barangay over there talking about your ass because you look like somebody that fucked over one of their friends or something. So as a result, they just choose not to deal with you entirely. Yes, that is something that happens. It's an unfortunate truth, but it is what it is. You feel me? It is what it is. Ain't shit you can do about it. All right. Shout out to my man, Edward Crandell. Appreciate you locking in. You going to the Philippines on September 1? That's what's up. He said Taiwan was good for me as well. All right. Sri Lanka does not have a president. That's interesting. He left the country real quick. That's a problem. That don't sound very well. If the president of Sri Lanka chucked the deuces and called it a day, who's in charge? Who's running the country? And if the country is still functioning without leadership, is that to say that a society can function without government roles in certain areas? Is that what that shit says? Because that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like if the country is still fully functioning without a leader, or without somebody claiming to be a president, or out government officials or sanctions or whatever it may be, there are policies that are put in order to keep people in line, and there are people who are still enforcing these policies. If that person left and those people are still functioning without it, it's a great conversation. Can we function as a society without government rules? But that's another conversation for another day. He says it is a mixed bag for India and Bangladesh because they're known for staring at foreigners. That's true. I've heard quite a few people shit on me because I told them one time I wanted to go to India. My dad said he wanted to go to India, and I was like, Pop, if you're going to go, I want to go with you. One time. Only happened one time. Then I come on here and I talk about it. And everybody who has either been there or heard about it talks about, more specifically, being myself of an African-American complexion. They don't necessarily treat us very well over there. Again, I'm pretty stubborn. I'm one of those types of guys. I feel like I got to see it for myself. There are only certain indications where I'm not stubborn in saying I want to see the shit for myself. And that's when it comes to traveling to the different areas in Mindanao, where they specifically say they be kidnapping folk and bad stuff happens, right? I'm not going to test that. And the reason I'm not going to test that is because I don't feel the need to do so, right? If you're going to tell me that it's bad out there, I legitimately have no reason to test that theory. Why? Because if I prove you wrong, what do I get from it? Ha ha ha, I proved you wrong. I was able to go to this area in the Philippines where you told me not to go and survived. But then what if I'm wrong and you're right? Then that spells trouble for somebody like me, right? So in those situations, I don't necessarily see it as, oh, let me prove you wrong that because you say I shouldn't go to this particular area in the Philippines, I shouldn't go there, right? I shouldn't go there because you told me not to go there. That's only ever happened to me on 2 occasions where I've known people who have come from a certain area and they specifically said, I don't think that's for you. And like I said, I didn't test that. I did not test that theory at all. But you get it, you know, like I said, I'm not going to sit there and act like every place in the Philippines that you go, you're going to receive that warm embrace. You know, that kind of fits all into what I was just talking about. You're not going to always go to every area in the Philippines and feel that warm embrace. All right. Sometimes it may come off negative. And like they said, like my man said, if a girl had a bad experience, you can't expect her to be warm and welcoming to you as the foreigner, man. If she done been through that shit with a foreigner like you before, and they were dealing with an arrogant, narcissistic type of dude, right? You just have to be able to accept it for what it is, call a spade, and keep pushing, right? Because you can't expect every girl in the Philippines to love you. You can't expect every girl to be welcoming to you. I think your money might make it easier. I'm going to keep it real. I think your money and your funds might make it easier, but you can't always expect them to, you know, have that same embrace to you as a foreigner, you know? My man says gun control. He who has the guns are in control. True. Yeah, I got mine. I hope you got yours. Anyway, what we got 14 in the building. Appreciate y'all locking in. But like I said, man, I know that there are a lot of people who are looking to travel to different areas, you know, in Asia more specifically, in different countries and shit. And for me, I just want you to know that, in my opinion, Philippines may not be a bad place to check out if you haven't checked it out yet, or if you haven't put it on your plan to go. Now, if you've been living in the Philippines for a long period of time, like when I was there for that 10-year stint, you know, I can't lie, you're going to get tired of it. Okay? I'm just going to be honest with you. There's going to come a time, I promise you, man, you're going to get tired of that shit. But it's no different than being in the U.S. your whole entire life. And, you know, you're not going to, you know, different areas. Like maybe you live in, you know, the Midwest or something like that, Oklahoma, Chicago or some shit like that. And you've never been to Vegas or something. You just want something new. So you just slide over there to the West Coast and you try to get it in, right? You know, no different than if you live in the Philippines for a period of time. It doesn't matter what particular area you jump to or travel to. Granted, you may feel, you know, like I said, that nice embrace. It may not be the warmest of embraces. Maybe it is. But you feel that embrace, you know. But after a while, I promise you, you're going to want to get up, get out, and do something else. That's just life, man. And how you play it is how you play it. I want to go to the Himalayas. Okay. He says, so I can say I'm a player for the Himalayas. That's funny. And I've heard people say, I haven't heard that phrase in a long time, man. I have not heard that in a long time, but it's funny as hell. My man Floyd Aaron says, despite the heat, he says, I'm enjoying the Philippines. Oh, yeah, that heat will take your breath away, man. It's more humid than it is hot. Like, I know, I feel for all of my brethren who live on the West Coast right now, where you guys are, you know, dealing with the scorches of 100-degree weather, topping 100-degree weather all the damn time and shit. I know it, you know, especially during the summertime. I feel for y'all. I do. I feel for y'all 100%. But that Philippine heat is just different because it's very humid. Like you just sweat a lot. Like you'll go through like 3 or 4 shirts in a day, sweating, or your ass just want to sit inside. Right? You just don't feel like going out at all. Trust me, I have had them days, man. I have had them days, man. But yeah, I mean, if you can really get through that heat, I would say master the heat, that tropical climate in the Philippines. I think you'll do all right. I really do. I think you'll do just fine. The Philippines doesn't necessarily embrace foreigners. They are just used to American presence for the past 100 years. So you think it's just, hey, another foreigner. Hey, Joe, call it a day? Could be. I ain't going to argue against it. Shout out to my brother David Webb. What's up with you, man? It's been a while. Come on, man. You got to ask me the question. Come on now. You can't just show up and not ask the question, sir. Don't do me that. Don't do me like that. Come on now. You tripping. 74 Fahrenheit here in that's Washington, my boy. Bruh, I think today it was like it was in the 80s today, but it's tipped out at about 9,900 in the past. I think the highest I've seen it here in Carolina, where I'm at, about 104, 105. That's been the top since the top of the summer, man. But every time I step outside, I get depressed real quick. Real quick. The conversation will be different in 10 years, depending on if the country leads towards China. Well, I think that current president, outgoing president, has definitely created some favorable relationships or so. Favorable relationships or so with China. So, hey, who knows where the Philippines will lead in the next 6 years of the new presidency, right? I'm going to start to believe eventually that the U.S. will likely try to have them undercover conversations about how friendly Philippines is with China. And I don't know if they're going to threaten to cut off funds or whatever it may be, just to try to keep people in line. Is it going to work? I don't know. Because in case y'all been living under a rock, man, China got some deep pockets, bro. I'm not going to lie to you. In case y'all been living under a rock, China got some deep pockets. Them pockets run deep. We talking deep, deep. We talking about, in case y'all don't know, y'all know that the United States is in debt to China, right? And if they ever decide to cash that in and say, hey, man, we've been sitting on this thing for a couple of days now, a couple of years now, a couple of decades now. It's about time for y'all to pay up. Ooh, talk about trouble. And we at 9% inflation, just in case y'all didn't know. Yeah, we something else here in the West, ain't we? We something else here in the West. But anywho, back on track, man. I guess we'll have to see where the Philippines leads, and again, the next couple of years or so. I think we'll have a clear indication in the next 6, considering who's coming in office and the current affiliations with who's leaving the office and stuff in the Philippines. I think you guys will actually give it time to come. Earl Owens, you say you give it 5. Like I said, you'll know about it within the next 6 years or so under the new incoming presidency. There you go, man. Brother, I can't tell you where they at, but it's good to see you back, man. Anyways, y'all, I see we got 15 in the building, man. If y'all have not dropped your likes already, Doc would highly appreciate that one, man. Y'all make sure y'all caress, molest, and distress yourself all over that like button. It wants it, it needs it, most definitely has to have it. Again, if you guys want to support in any capacity, please feel free to do so. But like I said, man, happy and blessed y'all choose to come through, spend a little bit of time with the boy today. Now, then, it's been a minute. Eddie Goodman, what's up with you, bro? You asked what happened to Jay. On his channel, he updated us about, he was going through a medical situation. I think it was malaria. I want to say he said malaria. And he said he's just been under the weather for a couple of days, but he's been putting up community posts about, his health progression, I should say. So, yeah, I think he's somewhat getting back to normal. I think he's feeling better and stuff like that. But yeah, I hope he's feeling better for sure. My man says, you said you and your wife, are you ever going back to the Philippines on a more permanent basis? Yeah, we'll probably do that one time in the future. Just today is not the day, bro. This year is not the year, right? We still have a lot of stuff to take care of here first before we think about permanent stays. Will there be visits? Absolutely. How often we will, we'll figure that out in the years to come. But right now, there's a lot of things to focus on here in the United States. I know that sounds crazy, being a foreigner that's the biggest advocate for travel. But when you're working and you're trying to build towards something, you kind of don't want to scale the path or get off path or anything like that. You just want to make sure you keep everything on the up and up. So as a result, yeah, we're gonna focus here before we think about permanent moves abroad for sure. Yeah, definitely pray for the brother, man. I hope he's doing better. But yeah, for sure. Prayers up for the homie. Again, outside of Singapore and other places, guys, there's probably other places that you've been to before wherein you felt that warm embrace. I think the Philippines, at least in Asia, has to be at the top of that list. If it ain't the top one, definitely top two. But the same embrace that you guys may say, well, like Chosen once said, he says that the embrace isn't so much as an embrace as it is the fact that Americans have been coming to the Philippines for the better part of a century of sorts, 100 years. That could be the reason. It's like, oh, okay, you're just another foreigner coming into the country. So it is what it is. But couldn't we say the same for Thailand, though, too? If that's the same vibe that, maybe they just used to seeing foreigners. They're just used to seeing maybe specifically Americans and people like that traveling to the country. So they just kind of have that same energy as well. If you see that Thailand and the Philippines have that same type of embrace when it comes to foreigners coming into the country, is it more or less just an accepting of, or is it, hey, hey, welcome here, man. We happy to take your money type shit. What is it? Is it just they're happy to take our bread, or is it that they're happy to genuinely see us in the country? I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's probably a little bit of both. We're going to say 50-50 on that one. For sure. We're going to say 50-50. So, David, you said you're going back on August 22nd. That's what's up, bro. I'm gonna hope that month is well worth it, my boy. I hope it's well worth it. All right, 17 in the building, man. If you haven't dropped your like, y'all make sure y'all do so. You have any comments, questions, or concerns for Doc before he cuts out and gets back to business as usual, let me know. Like I said, while y'all asking those questions, I'll go ahead and do my quick wind down. Like I said, didn't want to spend too much time on here. Just wanted to have a quick conversation with y'all and see where your head was, see what the energy was in reference to the idea of, foreigners coming to the Philippines, that warm embrace, one of the more embracing countries in Asia. Can we do that? And my man says, Doc, you can retire in 5 years when Bitcoin hits 500,000. Whew. Prayers up, man. I'm definitely praying for the best. We were watching a documentary the other day about some Canadian company that was like a Bitcoin ATM in Canada. Some dude stole some money or something. I forgot. It was on Hulu. The crypto something that I forgot. But it was pretty good. And as long as things stay the course, man, like I said, I'm banking on Cardano for some reason. Bought quite a bit of that, and we're just going to pray for the best. Started staking my Solana the other day since Coinbase offered staking for Sol. I figured I might as well just put it over there and stake it for a minute. So I'm not going to sell that anytime soon. But yeah, another day, another dollar, My man says off topic, but whatever happened to Yuri and Bruce? They kind of just stopped making YouTube videos, I guess, man. It's been a minute. Yeah. I've heard some things, man, but I'm not one to spread rumors and shit, so I'm just going to keep it to myself. There have been people who have kind of brung that or asked me about it in the past, and again, I'm not really as close, with Bruce and Yuri. I think there are probably other YouTubers that are probably closer that could probably, give y'all better information than me. about, you know, their whereabouts and stuff. I pray that everything's going well. That's for sure. Because, you know, it's kind of scary when people just disappear off of YouTube. Now, there was that one situation they had a while back about people coming after the young lady for a video she made. And I don't know if that kind of, I would never say force somebody off of YouTube, but if that changed the vibe about, you know, being on YouTube and how people come for you for a comment you made in a video that was posted like 2 years ago, and then they kind of attack it 2 years later and shit. You know, I don't know if that plays a major role in how people do YouTube videos. I mean, because you got to realize, man, this is a it's not a dangerous game we play, but it is a dangerous game we play being just YouTubers in general. And again, I ain't famous, but you still got people who will still shit on me if they could. And then hell, heaven forbid I'm bigger than I am now, man. Them people will probably come for the jugular every single day. You feel me? So you got people who may feel away, and if they said enough negative things and you just don't feel the energy to make videos anymore, that makes sense. I would probably step away too, because sometimes, y'all, it ain't worth it, right? YouTube is fun. YouTube is therapeutic. I use it as a way to get, you know, conversations out there, things that I've been thinking about, you know, and I'm glad that I do have an audience, no matter how fucking small, to have a conversation with. If it was just me, myself, and I on this bitch, we'd still just be talking, right? But it's good that I can still come on here and just speak what I feel to be true and ask certain questions and shit, and I'm definitely going to get a response. Right. But again, I promise you, sometimes it can get to the point where it could be pretty brutal dealing with certain people. Right. And if you ain't got a thick skin for this, or if you don't know how to avoid certain comments, or just let it slide, or, you know, it'll be easy for you to get into debates, riffs, or tiffs, not only with other YouTubers, but people in your comment section, people who don't even fucking show who they really are. They just be on there popping off, talking shit, hiding behind avatars and shit. But you allow them to take a piece of your energy. And I think that could play a major part in why a lot of people do leave YouTube. Unless you're somebody like me, and I very rarely read comments unless I need to. And I mean that to be truthful, man. I very rarely read comments. And I think I need to start just to make sure that I do respond back to those who are really just leaving, you know, comments based on certain videos and certain things and shit, and I will do better with it. But, you know, if it did get to that point, I can see that as a reason why certain people don't do YouTube anymore. You know, sometimes it just ain't worth it. Like, you know, if you come into this bitch thinking that you're going to make a lot of money, if you come into YouTube thinking you about to make bank, there are certain people who can do it. But in reality, yo, you gotta be rooted in reality that there's only certain people who make top tier dollar, right? When it comes to YouTube. Like I said, I'm happy if I make threshold, right? If I can do threshold at the end of every month, that is a great month for me. And that doesn't happen often, you know, at least not in the last couple months. But, you know, it is what it is, you know. So why they're not doing YouTube videos anymore, your guess is as good as mine. It has been a minute, Eddie, since there was that group show, man. Jerry, also from Philippines and Beyond, and Ren, and, you know, those were the days, man. I can't cap. But I kind of feel like everybody just, you know, everybody's moving forward and progressing and, you know, doing their own thing and stuff like that. Some people don't even make YouTube videos like that anymore. Like I said, I'm not making videos as consistent as I once did. I do plan on, you know, getting back into the groove of things, but sometimes you just feel you got to step away from this shit, either to get a fresh perspective or to come up with better content, you know? So, you know, you see people that are still on YouTube, and some people just ain't as frequent as they used to be. So that's the reason why you probably don't see so many people going through and doing shows like they used to do once upon a time. He said, Doc, you said, when are you going to start beef with other YouTubers? It's not worth it, man. He says my YouTube subscriber count will triple. He said it depends on how bad do you want it. He said do some reaction videos. I know, man. Trust me. If there's one thing that I know, 100%, there are two, I don't want to say legit, but there are two bona fide ways to increase your subscriber count that it never fails to do your subscriber count. If you're out there on Walking Street, or if you're out there at whore bars and dealing with women in your videos, a great portion of the time, your subscriber count is going to shoot through the roof. And second is if you start talking shit about bigger YouTubers, right? Because what you're going to end up attracting is three people right? And I said this before in a live stream, and I'm glad you brought it up. But you're gonna end up subscribing or getting 3 people to subscribe to your channel. If you start talking about somebody, you're gonna get people that hate that person the same way as you. You're gonna get people that love that person that are just coming over there to defend that person, or you're gonna get somebody like me who just shows up for the fuckery, right? Somebody who just shows up to see what the fuck you gotta say next, right? And your subscriber count jumped through the roof, right? Now, you may feel as though you have a legit reason to hate on somebody, or you have a legit reason to feel the way that you do about somebody. And you might be justified in one way or another, but I do know, and you should know this as well. If you put people's names in the titles of your videos or put them in your thumbnails and shit like that, you guarantee you're going to get somebody to click on your video. As a matter of fact, it was about the time when and there were a bunch of people who did this shit. I did it just to see what would happen. But back when who was it? There were 2 YouTubers recently that got into it. You'll know who I'm talking about. The 2 individuals that got into it at the immigration office, I think it was. Y'all know who I'm talking about. I did a video on that one. That one video of me not talking about a fucking thing did better than 90% of my content. And I'm not afraid to admit it. But if you remember the time when 2 particular YouTubers got into a situation, or not even a situation, and nothing really happened, but the fact that they did come face to face and shit. If you remember that particular situation that happened between those 2, I didn't take a side. I ain't say shit in the video, but that video clearly did way better than any video I had done up until that point for a period of time. So I know that that's pretty much what happened if I do decide to go that route. But at the end of the day, is it really worth it? Not really. Why? Because I think people who have been around for the last 5 years of me being on this bitch, they'll know I'm not being authentic. You know, they'll know. They'll be like, Doc, what the fuck are you doing, man? You're clearly doing this for views, man. That is sad. And I think I'll feel bad. I think I'll feel worse. I'll feel worse than the comments I'll get in the fucking comment section. And the people who know me that I'm only doing it for shady ass views and fucking subscriber counts, going after YouTubers that I really don't fuck with, or, you know, I just feel like I need to beef with. But it is what it is, man. I just don't feel like it's worth it for me to go that route. But if you do go that route, I'm not going to hold it against you. You just got to do what you got to do with what you think is going to put food on your table and put the money in your pocket, right? I bet you there's 1,000,001 people that don't necessarily care for that dude I was talking about earlier, old buddy with the Filipino in his name, and I'm pretty sure he gets hate all the time, right? I made one video about my boy from Iceland. Y'all know who I'm talking about. I did that video about the girl he was talking to in the airport, and I was like, yo, that girl want to give him the goodies so bad. Oh, she want to give him that ass. And I was talking shit. It wasn't in a bad or a negative way, but people come in your comment section talking about, oh, that girl was just being helpful. She was just doing this. She was just doing that. I know y'all remember that shit. It was because I had posted a recent video about it probably a few months ago. But again, like I said, people's perception, even if it doesn't come off negative, even if I'm not saying anything in a negative way or a bad way, if you talk about anybody in any capacity, guess what? You a hater, or you're doing it for views, or, you know, it is what it is. So, I mean, you really can't get a W in it. But then again, like I said, it does depend on how much you actually care. How bad do you really give a fuck about what people say? Because again, you'll figure that out long and hard. Long and hard. My man said YouTube beef is the new East Coast, West Coast beef. It truly feels that, man. It truly feels that way. Oh, yeah, my boy Mike up in the hotels in AC living his best life. I ain't mad at him. I talked to him the day before he left, and he told me pretty much his whole itinerary for his time in the Philippines. And I'm like, yeah, man, live it up. He got to live it up for the both of us, since I'm not going to be able to go at this moment. So, yeah. He said, when you mentioned about a YouTuber who has the name Filipino in there and is not Filipino, was you talking about? Nah, I was talking about the other guy. I was talking about the other guy. Y'all know who I'm talking about. He said, we live in a world of clout chasing. Chosen one, you 100% correct. You 100,000% correct. Trust me, you clout chase, you'll get people on your dick, for real. All right? Is it worth it, though? That's the question. Is it really worth it? It ain't worth it to me. At least not right now. If I feel like I'm willing to compromise who I am as an individual to make it work that way, I can do it. Fuck it. I don't care, man. No shame, bro. No shame at all. No shame in my game. I'm just not a clout chasing dude. It's not for Mike. It's not for me. James, what's up with you, bro? He says, on a personal note, Doc, any plans on the horizon for you and the missus to bring forth any little doctors and nurses? Yeah, man, I'm not really out there plotting and planning for it. If the shit happens, it happens. But I'm not in the game trying to fucking shoot shots like Curry and shit and watch them all hit, you know? But yeah, man, I'm not gonna sit there and act like I ain't trying to get no little babies in there. Eventually we'll get it together. Like I said, I can't wait too long. Got that boy getting old as shit. Getting old the motherfucker, man. So like I said, if the news ever comes out, honestly, I'll let you guys be the first to know. Nah, I'm lying. Of course, family gonna know first, but y'all be like the second group of people to know. All right. He said, I watched a certain YouTuber based in San Carlos because he dispenses nothing but. Hey, man, like I said, sometimes we show up for the fuckery, man. I can't be mad at you for that. I watch certain YouTube channels because people do nonsense. They do the fuckery is too much for me not to watch. I'm human. I'm attracted to the shit. So it's not as if I don't know what content is going to probably move the needle on YouTube. All right. Y'all know y'all already know the content that moves the needle, right? I'm not the only one who's seen it. I have never actually attempted to do it in its excessiveness to the point where, you know, every single video was, you know, hinting and or playing around with certain topic matters and or something that will get the clickbait in or to get people talking. It's not always been that way for me. But hey, I know what works, and I think y'all know what works too. So if you're thinking about planning a YouTube channel, by all means, you pretty much have an idea of what to do. There was one YouTuber a while ago. I don't even know what this gentleman is up to right now, but you know, he was one of those guys out there just popping off and doing all kinds of shit. But you know what? His channel went ham. And I remember distinctly, and I'm gonna tell you the truth. The first time I ever heard about him, I can't remember where I was at. I might have been at 2000. I might have been at 3. Who knows? But he was only at like 600 to 800 people on his channel. That's it. He had like 600 to 800 people. And on everything that I love, and I remember distinctly, it was a live show that all of us were on together. I know Jay was there, and I know I was there. Maybe HT was there. I can't remember. And I can't find the live stream because it was in the middle of something, and we were having a conversation. I said out loud, I said, the content that this dude's putting out right now, he's going to outdo all of us in the next few months. Lo and behold, man, lo and behold, in the next few months of him cranking out these videos, he was doing way better than a lot of us were at that time. He was the hot shit at that time, and can't nobody deny it because everybody was talking about him. My man that was doing them videos with them girls and shit. Come on now. Y'all play like y'all acting brand new, but I'm telling you, don't play brand new, man. He did what he had to do, and I respected the fuck out of it. Granted, like I said, it wasn't the way I approached it, and again, as you can tell, my approach versus his approach definitely grew the numbers quicker, right? So again, you know the type of content that does the best here, right? I think you'd be dumb if you didn't actually, how can I say this? You didn't actually put forth the effort. If you really wanted to make it on YouTube, like I said, you know what to do. All right. So YouTube 101. Go for the fuckery, beef with people, put girls in your videos and stuff like that, especially when you're traveling. Because all guys want to do is see you hanging out with other girls, right? See you hanging out with some baddies. You feel me? So shout out to my boy Sam Juan. What's up with you, boy? It's been a minute, man. I hope life's treating you well. But again, like I said, old buddy, he went from 0 to 1,000 with the quickness. And as I was watching the ascent, I was like, yo, this dude has no fucking care in the world. And I was like, damn, boy got balls. Because, yeah, I knew there were going to be some hate coming. And guess what? He didn't give a fuck. He did not care at all. And like I said, you got to have a thick skin in this game. If you really want to be about that action, you got to be about that action and you got to do what you got to do. So like I said, I'm not exactly sure what's going on in that area right now or that particular individual. But like I said, when he was hot, he was hot. He might have been hot for controversial takes and shit. He might have been hot for the things he was doing to girls in videos. He might have been hot for a whole bunch of different reasons. But when a man is hot, like I said, it's kind of hard to get away from that. You know, it's kind of hard to get away from that. And to me, like I said, I respect it. Don't necessarily mean I agree with it, but I respect it because, again, everybody's doing what they feel they got to do. And for some people who have said that they've had conversations with a particular individual offline, you know, two different vibes. So, you know, you got to take it how it is with that. Ben, what's on with you? What's going on, man? He says, Mike, I finally decided to take the leap and move out of the United States. And thanks to you, a channel like you, I appreciate it. I know I'm not the only one who's probably convinced you to do so, but thank you for at least putting me in with the other channels that you've watched that have kind of, you know, encouraged you to make a move, man. Like I said, my experiences were fun. From what I've been able to share online, I wish I would have started earlier, but I'm good with where I'm at right now. I did good for myself, man, and it was a great experience. And I think anybody and everybody who at least takes the time to actually go abroad, you guys have that same vibe as well. Travel videos definitely do well. If you're really getting it in, like really going to different places and highlighting, you know, certain areas and stuff, outside of the bars and stuff, of course, you know, and like your content has to hold though, man. Your content definitely has to hold weight. If it don't hold weight, then you're not gonna really get right, you know. My man says YouTube channels about food, sex, and how to get money definitely get big views. Yeah, those financial channels killer, man. Those financial channels are killer for sure. Shout out to my man, Mr. Diaz. What's up with you, bro? Anyways, guys, I didn't want to be on very long. I just wanted to politic with my skinfolk and my kinfolk. I appreciate you guys locking in with the good doc. So I'm going to go ahead and give you my sarnars, my farewell, my swan song of sorts. And I'm going to let you guys go and get the gig. And so shout out to all of my silent partners in the background. You know who you are, the individuals who just show up to just listen to me converse about whatever it is I'm conversing about. Again, a channel like mine doesn't exist without you. So I thank you wholeheartedly for continuing to rock with me and listen to me in whatever capacity you choose to do so. All right. To all of my brethren and my people who converse with me in the chat, man, keep me on my toes, ask me the questions, man. Appreciate you guys coming through. Appreciate you guys locking in. And, you know, it's always good to have you guys on and, you know, converse with me. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, last comment here. Once Bitcoin starts popping, you're going to move to Europe. He said, I'm trying to live like the rich folks. Man, we are all trying to live like the rich folk, man. For sure, for sure. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate your time, effort, and energy, man. I appreciate y'all rocking with me in whatever capacity you choose to do so, man. But y'all know what time it is, man. It's time for the good doc to go and get the getting. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the good doc is officially out, at least Nicole, which means I am going now. Bye-bye. As always, love you guys. Sincerely do. Makita. Bye-bye. Peace.